Welcome to Cruel Realities Part 2. Picking up where we left off, it's been about a week or so since the last batch of cards was sold. So what happened? I was up for getting maybe 300 and so bucks for the cards. And that's not what happened. I sent them into Star City Games, and they blatantly tried to rip me off by, giving me a lower price. No, that's not what happened. It's not even close. What happened though was I did lose about $6 on the deal, and here's the reason why. I didn't check the stuff before I sent it out. So you can see examples of why they weren't able to resell. Now, it was up to me. If I had stopped to think about that before I sent it, I probably would have been better off taking out the cards and sending them simply as singles. I would have maybe got some other things for parts for another deck, maybe some tools like that, and just sold off the more expensive cards. But I didn't do that, and that's on me. So I bring this up, as with all the cruel realities, going forward, more for posterity, more for me as a reminder of what I should be and shouldn't be doing. I'm not trying to advise anybody else, but I do see a lot of people making videos, and you can watch down in the corner as the price goes up and up and up and up and up, and as far as the value of the cards that they're opening and showing you. But the reality is there's a lot more involved with selling cards. It's more of an art than a science. To further add to the cruelty of it, I now checked after Commander 2019 has come out and see, had I waited just another week to sell my complete box set, all four commanders from the 2017 set, would have garnered me another $60, where I'd gotten back the money I initially made for them after holding them for a couple of years and turning them in. I could have actually made even more. But you know what? That's okay. I needed the money then. I got the money then. I bring this up because Rudy, Crazy Rudy, if you know Crazy Rudy, Alpha Investments, he's one of the channels that I subscribe to, points out that you can't beat yourself up. If you sold and got a profit, you got a profit. It's a win. Why are you going to worry about it? Because you could hold, if I'd held on to my Alpha Rares, I could be a millionaire now. If I got that Black Lotus and I just kept it. That's not how life works. So don't beat yourself up. Continue to move forward. At this point, I'm keeping in mind, though, for future sets, when Commander products are coming out, wait till they're out. See if that makes a difference. Start tracking these things. The best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So moving forward, that's what I'm trying to do. So we covered the fact that we lost a little bit of money because of poor planning and obvious damage. We covered selling too early. It happens. But don't let it happen again. That's the idea. So where did the money go for the Commander products and the other cards that I sold? Well, about 100 of it went back into this year's Commander product, and the rest of it went to M1 financing. So I'm not exactly sure where I was before I got the phone call, but that's okay. That's just for later episode of Tibalt's Apprentice. At any rate, where was I? Oh, so where's the money? M1 financing. I don't claim to be a finance expert, and so I'm just actually investing in for the first time. Not that you need to hear about all my money situations and my problems or whatever. But I think that it's going to be interesting where this goes. Basically, 2/3 of it has gone into actual secured, somewhat secured financing, and the rest of it's going back into Magic, and we'll keep track of where that goes from here. Since finance and Magic and money are all kind of tied together in this one, I want to talk a little bit about where we are with these things. I have a list of all of my Magic products, various things, whether they be booster boxes, intro packs, planeswalker decks, just whatever. One thing to keep in mind is the fact that Star City Games is where I sell them back to. I do that because it's a sure thing. And I do that because I've dealt with them in the past. I both buy my cards from them and sell my cards to them for ease and reliability. I'm not saying that everybody's maybe had that same experience with them, but I've had mostly positive experiences. So the other thing that I was going to mention about that, though, is that they can't buy back sealed product for 2 years. I think it's 2 years from the time of the print run. So a lot of the booster boxes I can't actually find prices on yet. I do know that the Ket box that I have is worth $60. Ether Revolt's maybe $80. Eldritch Moon, $75. They of course sell it for twice that, and I paid probably about twice that. Don't buy retail, don't expect to resell. I guess that's where I'm going with that one. You have to be in it for the long game. You have to be willing to hold on to those things. Luckily I am. I've been into Magic, into the game, so I don't mind holding on to these things at this time. So the reality of selling cards for yourself or somebody else is, I want to say, a great hardship. It's difficult. Like I said, lots of people talk about the value of the cards, and you just watch those sales figures ring up as to how much this is worth and how much that's worth. The reality is it's only worth what you can get for it. Most shops aren't going to buy back at anything more than 50% of what they're going to sell it for at the best. I think Star City Games is pretty good about that, but the fact is they'll let you trade in for store credit, etc. But if you're actually going to get the prices that the market purports to pay, you have to do the work. The work includes checking everything for damage. I'm not mentioning that just because of what happened, but obviously that's the first and foremost thing on my mind right now. Look for damage, inspect the cards, make sure to grade them properly. If anything, I undervalue the cards that I sell when I sell singles. You need to shoot those photos, or if you have a flatbed scanner, if you can scan, most copying machines can scan straight into the computer these days. Actually scan the cards so that people know what they're getting before they get it. You then have to create ads, you have to create listings, you have to build a accurate selling account of each card. So many people just plug and play and use this one description, this is Magic card, blah, 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 and that's it. And the fact is, cards are unique. They're going to be different, whether they're slightly played, unless they're coming straight out of the pack. And even if they are still coming straight out of the pack, doesn't mean that they haven't had some kind of damage to them. You can't just assume that I'm going to crack a pack and just because I pulled, Hydrocrassus out of this, it's going to be perfect and great. You've got to look at it. You've got to create those listings. Then you've got to deal with packing material. You've got to have the packing material. You've got to take care that the stuff is going to be shipped. Am I sounding like I'm preaching? I feel like I am. I only say this because I've done this before, And I think that when it comes to selling these things, people are lax about it or think that it's just you slap it in an envelope and send it off. It's not how it works. You've got to worry about shipping. You've got to worry about how long it's going to take to get there. You've got to worry about if people are going to pay for it. I don't like where I'm going with this. It sounds awful. It sounds so boring and stiff. But I do have to say, you're also running a risk of your reputation in the form of feedback. I'm used to selling on eBay. My wife and I have done it for a number of years. And you risk your feedback every time you sell. And especially, I hate to say it, especially when you sell the Magic players. People are very picky about their cards. They hold them to a very high standard, at least most people do. And so when you've laid out good money for this, you expect a good return on that money. The fact is that it's up to you to know your product. The best example I can think of was being accused of selling fake cards or proxies because the printing was too dark on it. Now, being that I bought all the cards myself, I was well aware of the manufacturing problems that they had, so I had to actually go to the Magic Encyclopedia, quote it, page number, and scripture. I had to quote it completely. I had to photocopy it. I sent it to the person so that they could see that the cards that he got weren't dark because I had to run them off onto my printer. They were dark because that was how they came to me, and they were perfectly legal cards. There was nothing proxy about them. So it's up to you to know your product and be ready to defend what you've done. It goes back to inspecting them, it goes back to grading them correctly from the beginning. I think this got preachy. I'll have to put some exciting music in here or some really cool backgrounds or something to make this a little bit less boring. Anyhow, that's the cruel realities of selling Magic cards.